and things move forward. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining in for our monthly meetup, ICF members in Pakistan. We are doing these programs for having a better understanding about ICF standards of coaching and more broadly about coaching. Coaching, as we all know, it's in Pakistan, especially in Pakistan, is a new field. People are not very much aware of that. But then there is a string attached also with coaching that whenever you do coaching, you have to have clients and then you have to earn something out of it also. But worldwide, this is a phenomenon that this is a very difficult field. There is lots of coaches out there, but they are not very well in tune with ICF standards or ethics of coaching. But ICF keeps on sharing with us some material. And very recently, an ICF done a survey, and their recent report came out. And that report, in fact, has mentioned that the coaching in itself is a $5 billion revenue industry in the world, which the revenue this year in 2024 has risen, not the 2025, but 2024 has risen 17% from 2023. And then the number of active coaches has risen by 13% from 2023. The active coaches are 122,974, according to that report. And 90% of the coaches have active clients. So this is a good news for all the coaches who are out there, especially the ICF certified coaches, the credential holders, that patience and a consistent effort will pay, in fact. Very recently, in fact, I just got the news yesterday, in fact, that there is a new book coming up also from ICF, International Coaching Federation, that is basically they are mentioned as a coach book. Bock is, it's not book, it's Bock, BOCK, body of competencies and knowledge. So ICF coaching body of competencies and knowledge, it is presented in a book shape, and it will be available somewhere in November. The orders are they are taking the orders, in fact. What this book is doing is that they are presenting all the competencies, which are also renewed also, but they are not made public yet. But this book is coming up as kind of a textbook for all the ICF certified coaches. So with this, I would be handing over the floor to our today's presenter, and the today's topic is seems to be very technical. It looks like difficult word also. Neuroscience of coaching. Romana is our presenter today, and Romana is a PhD also, and has lots of years of experience behind her, lots of training experience, coaching experience. And since I have joined ICF as a member and became a PCC and started doing all these programs, I know hardly Romana has missed any of our programs. So she's a very regular member, a very consistent member, and one of the oldest members, not in age, but in terms of
Well, I'm glad you clarified that.
I had to, or I
Yeah,
had another
yeah,
program also with you, in fact.
yeah.
So thank you very much, Romana, for coming up and taking up this program today. So as you go along, we'll ask some questions and clear our understanding about neuroscience also, and how it shapes our world in terms of coaching. So
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for that kind introduction. And the reason why I am so interested in this subject, without being a neuroscientist, is that my PhD was on the subject of change management and neuro leadership. which is another divergent field of neuroscience. There are lots of other fields that have appeared out of the context of neuroscience. Neuroleadership is one of them. Neuromarketing is another one. The study of social behavior coming out of neuroscience. So lots and lots of trajectories that have arisen as a result of the study of the brain. Oftentimes people ask me, well, if you're studying the brain, where is the mind? And I have to tell people that the mind is present all over the brain. It is not confined to a localized area. It is a collection of information passing from one region to another through neurons. A lot of the vocabulary associated with neuroscience perhaps also sways people away from the subject. And if you take any course that talks about neuroscience, it is heavily inundated with anatomy descriptions and the networks in the brain, etc., etc. But since I'm not a neuroscientist, I stay on the periphery. And this is what we are going to talk about today on how neuroscience can help coaches to develop, to design, to move forward the human potential. And the potential is so vast. We always talk about that. We talk about how much more capabilities people have and what holds them back and what stops them from making that change. Neuroscience actually brings it all together. So today we will talk a little bit about the subjects that are mainly associated with neuroscience. It is a very vast field. And even in the neuroscience of coaching, when we go through it, you'll find that where there are connections, we've been able to correlate that with the theory or the findings. There is so much more, and this is not an exhaustive list. So we move forward and we want to bring to the forefront the fact that coaching is not just an emotional element. So when we are sitting with a client and the client is talking about the obstacles in life that they have, and they are talking about the lack of a support system, it is not just the emotional outlay that the client brings. It is also neurological in subject. In other words, the nerves that are connecting, the neurons that are connecting one part of the brain to another, maybe they have not been worked on to a great extent. If you can just imagine this, there are 100 billion neurons in the mind. Those numbers are astounding to me. And there are over 100 trillion synaptic junctions. In other words, where the neurons, which are the communication mechanisms of the brain, meet other neurons, there are 100 trillion such connections. So imagine the vastness of the mind. We talk about the universe, we talk about spirituality. It's all contained in this mind where we don't explore as much as we can because we hold ourselves back to a great extent. So, once again, it's not just about emotions, thoughts, or feelings. It is also neurological, which is based upon the capacity of the mind and how far we are using it. In front of you right now, you will see a picture of a neuron. A neuron is the main cell body, which has connections or arms or legs moving out of the cell, which are connecting to other neurons to pass along messages. How are these messages passing along? They are done through electrical and chemical reactions. And therefore, the connections that take place are the synapses, which, as I said, was 100 trillion and above at this point in time in the mind. If you ever open up the structure of the mind, you would cover an entire football field. This is how much material is contained within the brain itself at this point in time. So, I feel that the brain is one of the most miraculous elements that whatever God you believe in has given us. Why is neuroscience important? Neuroscience is important because it helps us to understand in coaching how people learn, what are the learning steps that they have to take. For example, neuroplasticity comes into play over here. What blocks your transformation, your change into another being? How can we accelerate growth and move the client forward? And remember, our objective in coaching always is to create a client directed environment, a safe environment where the client actually moves from what is at this point in time to what can be as per their own desire and dreams and visions. So, a lot of times you'll hear me using words like imagination and visioning, which is what we use very often in our coaching terminology. And science has now proven that these are affiliates of the mind. And the more we focus on them, the better can be the coaching environment or the coaching results. The human potential, like I said earlier, with billions of neurons, there is so much out there in our own minds that we have not explored. I met with a client the other day, and she wants to set up a coaching business. She's been pondering over it for the last 6 months, and her usual response has been every 2 weeks when we meet that I don't have the skills for it, I don't have the nerve for it, I've never done marketing, I've never done business promotion, I don't think I can do this. So when we talk to a client like this, it is about the obstacles, it is about the self-efficacy, it is about the confidence of the client, which is all in the mind. And what we as coaches have to overcome with the client, through the client, by the client. I cannot tell her that she needs to gain more confidence. Where does that come from? It has to come from her. But knowing that this capability exists for her is perhaps the most important element where she can then promote her autonomy and move towards greater self efficacy, which is another term that we use very often in coaching. So let's talk about the 7 principles of neuroscience. These are all research driven, and they are specifically talking about neuroscience in the perspective of coaching at this particular point in time. It has been adapted by a scientist that I know. She runs something called an organization called the Leadership Academy, and a fascinating process that she takes you through with the anatomy and moving all the way through to how the different brain functions are affecting the person, the health, the wellness, and subsequently coaching. So the first point that we talk about is nature and nurture in coaching. And some of these are misconceptions. A lot of times there is debate about whether it is nature that is affecting the growth of the client or the specific person, or whether it is how you develop through the culture, through parents, through education. Now, nature we know consists of genes and molecules and the way that the brain is currently functioning. Nurture, on the other hand, talks about the external environment, the social environment, the relationships. And it is a popular belief now, scientifically, that these are not working one against the other, they are collaborating. Now, what does that mean for coaching? It means that if you have a culture where you have not determined your goal or had that ability to have a vision, because we've been told oftentimes this is what you should be. A client of mine came up to me the other day and said, I didn't have any options. My parents told me either I become a doctor or I become an engineer. So therefore, I could not imagine being anything else. Today, she is an architect because she finally decided a few years ago to take matters in her own hand. Now, we are not telling our clients to be rebellious. We're not telling them to go against the norm. What we are all suggesting to them at all times is Be who you are, because with that authenticity and the purpose that you have, nature and nurture could play a part in both of them. What your social environment says versus what your interests and your passions are, and you bring the two together. So they are, as I said, intricately intertwined. And this is one misconception that neuroscience takes care of by saying that they are both at play in one's life. Um, when you see the red star down here, I don't think it's a star, I think it's more of a proclamation mark. This is where a coach can actually learn and derive better methods of assimilating this in their coaching environment. So, by reframing shifts, the perception of the client changes. By rewiring beliefs and things that are limiting us, the limiting beliefs that we talk about often, when you delve deeper into why the client is doing what they are doing, what has been the effect on the client as a result of either nature or nurture, this particular element then comes into play where you can bring it together for the client to awaken more self-awareness. So that's a note for the coach at this point. If you have any questions in between, please stop me and we will take care of that. Otherwise, we'll move at the pace that we've established. Um, we talk about the brain circuits and we say, how does experience affect the brain? Now, our experiences are what make us alive. And this is how we learn. This is how we transform the brain. The brain is a very predictive, I would say, being, an entity that is very predictive. So, whatever experiences we have had, we bring them into our present and we forecast the future based upon that. Which is why when we talk to a client and we ask them, where have you seen success like this? Where is it that you have not been as successful? We are building on the experiences of the client and we are bringing from the past their perception into the present so we can build a future with them. And some of these are, once again, limiting beliefs. Some of these are experiences that they've had in the past that we need to change. Biases, for example, also become a part of that. We talked about biases in the earlier slide. Biases also play a part over it here. Our parents tell us certain things cannot be done or should not be done. So we build a bias. Those experiences are explored in a coaching environment to say, how are you being affected today by your past so that you can build a better future, a future that you envision. Now, this is not therapy, by the way, because therapy involves a lot more processing, a lot more finagling with what happened, when it happened, how you felt at the time. So you're not a therapist, and we are very clear on that in all of our ethics and codes that anything that requires a greater amount of therapeutic or process work has to be referred to a therapist. As a coach, what you are doing currently is bringing snippets of what the client believes today from the past and reframing those so that you can question the validity today and see if there are still lingering doubts in the client's mind with that. The next item that we talk about are memories. So, this once again goes back to your experiences. And what we end up doing is we make our narratives based upon our memories. And as a result, our emotional regulation is affected. So, what is emotional regulation? It is your ability to control your emotions at any given point in time. Oftentimes, we have heard in meditation, in mindfulness, to take that pause, to step back from for a minute and say, what am I going through? And is this the way that I want to handle the emotions that are occurring in my mind? It could be stress, it could be discomfort, it could be a distrustful environment or relationship you are talking about. But because emotions have such an intricate meaning with our memories, oftentimes we need to delve deeper into that memory with the client to see the validity of the emotion and if it is still valid at the particular time that you are talking to the client. So our memories intertwined with our emotions affect the way we talk about emotions and how we are feeling in a given context. One of the best things that I have learned in coaching a client is that when there is a moment that you have a question, maybe you want to pause and let the client talk about what they are saying or thinking or feeling without interruption. You may also want to then reframe what the client is saying so that when you say it back to them or paraphrase it, they see either the significance of what they are saying or they can themselves tell you, no, I don't think that is correct for me anymore. I had a client like that the other day, and her issue was that she generally grew up in a culture where her mother had a very strong influence, and as do most of our parents. And she believed that she could only become a good housewife, a good homemaker, and a good mother, and there was nothing else that she could do. In reframing that and saying it back to her, she actually pointed out that no, my mother may have thought that, but I don't believe that anymore. I see all these generation Z and millennials around me, and they are able to push themselves further, and I don't see why I cannot. She started doing her own business from her garage. And from my last discussion with her, she has an income of about 100,000 a month, which may not be substantially huge, but it's just the start. And she is very happy about breaking that myth and relieving the emotion from the memory which was stuck in her mind for the longest time. Um, so what is an emotion? An emotion is the creation of our own mind
May
in
I
a
ask a
particular
question first?
context.
May I ask a quick question?
G?
Uh, a-
Yes, yes, please do.
yeah, on your previous slide, and there is a very powerful word mentioned on your previous slide, and that is changing the prediction power of brain. Uh,
Mm,
how do you do that? I mean, that's a very intriguing thing for me. Prediction power of the
yes.
brain. How does
Yes.
neuroscience
Okay.
help?
So here's what the brain does, G. The brain is a very likes to be in a status quo position, which means that the brain follows what I believe at this point in time. So if I say it, if my brain has been fed with the information that I am not going to be very successful at, as an example, public speaking. Example, my experiences with speaking were not good in the past. I stand up there and I attended my last debate and I did not do too well. The brain picks that up as a predictive element and says, you know what, this happened to you in the past, it will happen to you again in the future. So that is what the brain predicts. So in change, one of the bigger elements that we have to conquer is the prediction power of the brain that says, based on your experience in the past, based on the futility of this act that you had or made, you will not be successful at this, or you will not be able to make that change, or you will not be able to conquer the fear that you have. So the brain likes giving you that information because it is quick for the brain to do that. The brain doesn't like change, by the way. The brain wants to work in the same modus operandi that it always did, and therefore it predicts for you that you can make an easy, quick decision. Also, remember that in a daily context, we are inundated with about 50,000 bits of information. So, this is one of the quickest way that the mind can overcome the amount of information that you are getting It creates that shortcut and belief system that says you can't do this because in the past you weren't able to do it. That is a predictive power of the brain.
Okay.
Umar Saab, is that
Brilliant.
okay?
Yeah. That's gave me good future ideas also about using my own brain, how we can use
Yes,
it.
yes. It's very good that you would say that, because one of the things that I've learned is that you cannot tell people what to do unless you either have a strong belief in it or that you have done it yourself. So the other day, I had a client who came up to me and said, "Well, I want to have good nutrition. I also do health and wellness coaching. So I want to have good nutrition, and I want to have 3 meals a day. Now I don't eat 3 meals a day. I don't eat. I eat 2 meals a day. But I can't force this particular client to go to 2 meals a day because it's not something that I want to thrust upon a client. So for her, if the 3 meals a day works, as long as she is comfortable with it, I can't tell them what to do with it, correct? So you cannot tell people to do something that either you have not done before or where there is a strong case for having 3 meals a day. And nutritionally, it is fine to have 3 meals a day. I've tried to follow the intermittent fasting, may not work for a lot of people. And science says that whereas intermittent fasting does work for a number of people, 3 meals a day is also fine. So you have to make that distinction, and the client can make that decision. You can't obviously do it for the client at this time.
So it's lots of customization of your own habit,
No,
brain, and
no. No, it is not, because we're each unique and we each follow our own path. My path will be completely different from yours. There may be some similarities, but you are a unique individual in your own right.
Mm.
And as a coach, I have to appreciate that and take it forward from there rather than giving them advice. The expert advice can't come from me. I can't have that hat on. The coaching hat has to be there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Um,
Is customization of whatever you are doing
yes,
according to your own
yes,
setup. Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely.
good.
Um, Emotions and memory, we talked about this earlier on. It is your creation of what you have experienced. It is in relation to the world around you. It is something that you developed. For example, the fear of a lizard. It is not something that we are born with. We don't have reptilian mind. Contrary to popular belief, which earlier said that there's a reptilian mind with us, there is no such thing. Your teacher running scared or fear of a mouse, for example, and you're jumping on a chair. So our emotions are picked up to a great extent from our outside world and our culture. The ability to speak or not to speak. There are households that encourage you to do that. There are households that do not. I remember growing up, and my mother would look at me with her eyes, and I could see what messages she's giving me. She didn't even have to speak at this point in time. So, depending on your own context, your emotions are derived to a great extent. And when a client comes to you in a coaching environment, we have to understand the context they are talking in. We have to understand the culture they are coming from. There's a huge amount of work being done at the ICF level on cultural adaptation and how we can make certain that there is respect for all cultures. I think as a coach in this particular context, there is nobody better than us, the coaches from Pakistan, to understand what we are talking about over here when we talk about our culture and the coaching environment. I speak to a lot of international coaches, and their culture is completely different, obviously. The independence, the freedom, the ability to speak your mind. So you have to juggle those contexts and emotions where they're coming from. You cannot believe that because a client has a certain emotion that this is wrong or right. There is no judgment involved in this. And when you do that, you are creating that psychological space that is giving people safety and security to be themselves. And this is what you're doing as a coach. Your role as a coach is to create that environment, that safe space. Mindfulness is one way to do that, to give people that calmness and that serenity that says, take 15 minutes for yourself. And one a number of my clients have started doing that. I take them through the mindfulness journey for about 5, 10 minutes, and they do that on their own early in the morning. A lot of them are mothers, a lot of them are working women, and all they have to do is just get up 10 minutes earlier, get that frame of mind where they are calmer, where they are letting thoughts drift in and not letting their mind be affected by the thought. There is no right or wrong in that thought. So to bring that emotional volatility to a lower ebb, mindfulness works to a great extent. I find it fabulous. I know people who do this for an hour and a half every day. I don't know where they find the time, but because it is important for them, they still do it. Has anyone over here tried mindfulness? Well, Umar, maybe we can do a session on mindfulness one day.
Yes, we can. I always
Yeah,
try doing it, mindfulness. I don't know how far I'm successful for that,
yeah.
but we should always be doing it.
Well, yes, yes, absolutely. A few of my clients came in, and well, not a few, two or three of mindfulness because I say my namaz, which is wonderful, and I draw inspiration from that. But mindfulness gives you a certain edge over what you are, who you are, and what you are feeling. I think a namaz is a great connection with God. Mindfulness is a connection with yourself at this point in time, if I can put it like that. Okay. Um, One of the elements that is very important, and you this in self-determination theories, for example, the self-determination theory says that if I want to make a good self-directed change, I will look at autonomy, I will look at the capability that I have, the self-efficacy, and the relationships that support me in this journey. So the foundation of change, we believe, is also relationship because the more you are able to reach out, the more of a social perspective you have with who you are and the connection with other people, change becomes more supported and easier to manifest in your own life. A typical example of this, a client who goes to work has to eat salads because that is prescribed by her medical practitioner, but doesn't do it. If she has a good circle of friends and social relations at work who can support her through this, the journey of good nutrition would become far easier at this point in time. So, which is why relationships play such a vital role in creating that support and that mechanism for a client to move forward. You are also, as a coach, part of that support system. Others around can also do this at this point in time. Um, any questions on self-determination theory or relationships? Relationships play a huge part. For example, we talked earlier and we said that an offshoot of neuroscience is also neuroleadership. And in almost every theory, and I researched about 11, 12 of them as part of the PhD element. Almost every one of them talked about the dependence on relationships. And from a personal perspective, I think that is very important because for a number of years I did not reach out. And that put me in a space where I felt isolated, where I felt alone, where I couldn't go to anyone for resolution of a problem or to make a change. So, from personal experience, I can tell you that relationships play a profound effect on who we are and how we want to make that change and in what way people can help us. Um, Visualization and imagination. This is one of my favorite subjects because when you're sitting alone and you're daydreaming, and there's a part of your brain, by the way, of the three networks that are major networks. One of them is the default network, which allows you to daydream, which allows you to visualize, and visualization and visioning play a very important role in coaching. And this is now scientifically out there that in that space in the default network, this is what you do, and it is so important for you to do that, to just take some time and daydream or visualize and imagine. It helps you to brainstorm better, it helps you to be more creative, it helps you to throw more ideas out there to your executive network function, which is where all your problem solving, your decision making, your change management takes place. So the role that we have for imagination and self actualization, which you will never get to, by the way, and you shouldn't get to it, in my opinion. One should never be at a point where you say, I am now complete, I have reached my self actualization level, because there is always, always so much more to learn out there, so much more to do, things that were not done before by you. How can you possibly say that I have self actualized at this point in time? Everyone, as a coach and as a client, is always reaching out to formalize, develop, improve their own personality, their own identity. Therefore, reaching out and having that vision becomes so important because your only contest is with yourself. Who you want to be tomorrow is better than whom you are today. So I remind my clients a lot of times, it is not about the Joneses next door. It is not about your cousin having the three cars. It is about you being better tomorrow than whom you are today. And visualization gives you that ability. How is the mind connecting with the visualization? Remember, we said earlier that the mind believes what you tell it. So if you believe in what you are visualizing, if you are taking it forward and saying, you know what, I have this vision in mind, I have this imagination, your mind starts believing it. And when it starts believing something, it starts moving you towards that. We often hear of things like manifestation at this point in time. Manifestation is just a variation on saying, this is my imagination, this is where I am going, and your mind manifests those ideas into actual goal setting, action oriented plans. So we can't let new things befuddle us, because this is all something that we should be aware of. What you believe in, your mind will start believing in. The caveat over there is for you to believe in it. And this applies to learning new skills. So, skills acquisition, neuroplasticity. What is neuroplasticity? At some stage, we believed that 12 साल का हो गया है, 15 साल का बच्चा हो गया है, तो this is all the learning that they've accumulated. It is not true at all. At the age of 70, 75, 80, they have found new connections in the brain, formed in the neurons, with the neurons, for skills acquisition, for new learning, for games that you can play better, for readings that you can assimilate more. How? Neuroplasticity. What it says is that neurons that you are not using will wither away, they will become redundant. Neurons that you start working with and making new connections and learning new skills, It could take 6 weeks, it could take 6 months, depending on the complexity of the skill. But as it becomes hardwired in your brain, you will learn to be better at it, and you will form a new connection, and hence a new skill acquisition or a new learning. So, extremely important concept in brain sciences is this concept of neuroplasticity, that there is no stopping the learning or the development of your mind or yourself at any age at this point in time. And I think that's one of the most heroic learnings of neuroscience currently. Okay, so like I said, a lot of terms that we use in coaching are affiliated with the findings of neuroscience. I haven't used a lot of them because I didn't want to overwhelm. As it is, I think I'm overwhelmed with the topic. But things like client center, things like resilience, things like brain openness, all of these are coaching terms that are validated now by really knowing they have a scientific background, and these have been learned through the technologies that have developed to look at the brain, the fMR, the MRIs. Uh, there are now portable fMRIs which you can walk around with. Well, we can't because we don't have that technology here. But in experiments and in research, they allow people to be monitored constantly rather than just in a control room or in a laboratory. So science is making such strides that what we are talking about today may very well be built upon further another year from now, another 2 years from now. But that's the beauty of science. So we can never say we are wrong today. We're just building upon this foundation. Okay. So if you were to walk away, let me ask you something now. If you were to walk away with one insight from this into your or one learning that you would like to explore, what would it be? Aisha? Mm. Oh, Aisha said she would be leaving early, right? Omar?
Yes, I think Aisha Samad has left, but there is one Aisha Fawad. So
Okay. Aisha Fawad, can you
she is already there.
hear us?
Yes, I can. Hi.
Hi.
Good. Hi, Aisha. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much. Sorry I joined in late, but it was
Good.
really, really good.
Okay, that's fine. Oh, good. I'm glad. What insight would you draw from this for yourself, your coaching practice, for example? What do you think would be helpful for you?
Okay, the one thing that I'm learning is that, about neuroplasticity is that we can still learn. There's no such thing as I'm too old to learn. And I think that is something that
Hmm.
that gives me really, that gives me hope, positivity. And I think if I can help the client understand this, it is really going to help them.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think that's a very valid point, because you hear that very often. I'm too old. I can't do that. I've never done it before. Therefore, how can I possibly endeavor to do this now? One of my clients wanted to play paddleball, and her daughters went, her friends went, and all she did was keep saying to me, "Well, I can't because I'm too old to do uh, to go play paddleball." And eventually, through some coaching and neuroplasticity and all, she's now on the court. She sprained her wrist, by the way, but that hasn't stopped her from learning a new skill. So all you need, honestly, is that courage to step out and move forward and say, look, let me try. And if it still doesn't work, that's fine. Maybe it's not something that you are attuned to. But the fact that you can learn a new skill at any point in life, I think is a tremendous learning. Yes.
It is,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah, can I?
thank you.
Yeah, I have an insight also.
Ji.
If you allow me to share my
Yes, yes,
one little
please do.
story also aligned with this insight.
Yes.
The power of visualization and imagination that you mentioned, it's so powerful. My own experience is that just a quick story that in 1998, in
Mm-hmm.
the mid-year 1998, I started my career, and the first day when I walked into my first office, first day
Mm-hmm.
in my corporate life, I saw a car parked in the parking lot. And I
Okay.
like that so much. And I visualize that one day I will be owning
Mm.
that car. I didn't say, I didn't say that I will own such a car, but I said that I will own that car because that was such a lovely car parked there. And at that time, that was my first day in the professional life. I went there on a public transport. And I visualized that for many years hence. And after 8 years of that day, I actually bought that very car. So, so I still remember the number of that car,
Interesting.
and and that
Wow.
basically kept on motivating me throughout my
Mm-hmm.
career, and things still do. I mean, I do visualize things whenever I have a lecture, I have a training, I have a full day training program. At the night, what I do
Mm.
is I visualize that how I will be presenting and what I will be
Wow.
saying,
Yes. Yes. That's great.
how we'll be starting the program and how we'll be carrying it through. And that actually
Mm-hmm.
that basically builds my energy, in fact, also.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Now, think about this. Umar, thank you so much for sharing that. That was a lovely story, based on real life experience. But think about the terms that we have just associated with that visualization. You use the term hope, you use the happiness that you derive from it, the motivation that comes in from visualizing. What are the terms that can give gratitude for, what I am now and what I can get or I will be getting?
Hmm.
So happiness. So a lot of derivations of that one practice of imagination, telling you that there is more to life, and I am going to get that. So I
Hmm.
mean, to me, it's amazing how one thing leads to another, to another, to another, and so for me, that context was fabulous.
So true, so true.
Yeah, great. Anyone else out there want to share what insight you will take into your coaching practice from here? Or what is something that you would want to learn more about as you walk away from here? Mm.
Hi, hi Romana. This is Fariha.
Hi,
I'm so
hi,
sorry I
Faria.
joined late, but it's such a
Welcome, Faria. How are
fascinating
you?
subject.
Yes, it is. I'm
I'm
glad you
good, thank you.
feel
Such a
that way.
fascinating subject. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad
I think
you.
one of the biggest takeaways for me, I think, is the neuroplasticity as well. I think Aisha mentioned it. I think walking away with that, it's hope for people. Sometimes when people come to us, like you said, they say, "Oh, I'm too old for this. I can't do this." And actually, that journey, of the learning, being knowing that actually even our bodies are cooperating with us in that sense, that our brain can. And we just have to nurture it in that way. The relationship that we have with our coachee is to nurture that. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from me, for me. Unfortunately, I only joined
Mm.
in from the visualizations. I'm hoping
Oh,
that the slides will be available, hopefully. I'd love to be able to kind of catch up and see the recording as well. But thank you so much, Romana, for the session.
oh, my pleasure. And I'm glad now when you were talking, thank you so much for contributing to this. The journey, you spoke of the journey. How fascinating is this journey? If we can bring that excitement into the client's life, that this is not a chore, this is not something that will aggravate you, but think of it as a wonderful journey. You're walking this path. You've never walked this
We have some
path before.
on your
G?
we have some distortions. We couldn't hear you well. I'm not sure if
Oh,
it's only me or
I don't know. Well, I'll try to repeat everything. The journey that the client is taking while making this change, how fascinating is that? And if we can embed in the client the excitement, the joy, the looking forward, the anticipation, I think that's we could make this all so much more fun than it is at this point in time. Are we still
Yeah. We can hear you.
um,
We can hear you perfectly well. Perfectly well.
okay, all right, all right. So once again, derivation, and it is about the journey, it is about the fun, it is about the happiness. I don't think everything in life or most things in life should be a chore. If I am learning, and I learned this during my PhD. If I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, I shouldn't be doing it. Because then it becomes more of a boj, more of an encumbrance on the mind rather than a wonderful journey that you're going on, the
Mm.
fascinating world opening up out there for you. So I keep telling my clients also, do what you feel passionate about, do what brings you happiness. And if this journey of, for example, weight loss is becoming a chore for you, turn it around, reframe it. The reframing is another important concept for us as coaches. Reframe it into a positive, hopeful, optimistic journey, so you can enjoy it a little bit more. I
Uh,
sound like I sound like a Peak Fiends chocolate biscuit ad, right?
No, that's fantastic. In fact, just Romana, just to remind you, we have only 4 minutes left for this. If we could wrap it up, the things,
Okay.
and then we'll conclude.
Yes, yes. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. You can tell that I love this subject. I'm currently doing another certification on neuroscience coaching. It's a tough subject because there's a lot of anatomy involved in it, but I still think I want to do this. I also have the National Board certification coming up in November. Hopefully, I'll be able to get through that. But what I'm trying to display to you is that no matter where you are in life, no matter what you're doing or have not done, there's a world of possibilities out there. So don't stop exploring them. I think the more we have and learn of neuroscience, the more we realize that the possibilities are endless. So if you take one key lesson from here, please take that. The huge world of possibilities out there for you and me, and we just need to explore that a little bit more.
Mm. Thank you very much,
Thank
Romana,
you.
for a fabulous presentation today. It's really
Oh,
opened up a number of pathways for us, reaffirmed us lots of things, but opened up a new chapters. And we think that it will be very helpful for all the coaches who are here. One very interesting comment, and I think it is very pertinent by Bakhtar Khwaja Saab also. He
mm,
mentioned it in the chat box that creating psychological safety is the key to establishing a trusting relationship with a client. And
mm,
confidentiality and focus on client welfare are two things which can be repeated many times by a coach. And that's what I think when you were referring to the relationship building part with the client as a coach that we do. There are lots of things that mindfulness has come up, and there were suggestions that we should do a mindful session also sometime in our future sessions. And then,
I'd love to. I would love to do that, by the way.
oh,
I
great.
before I don't mean to stop you or interrupt, but Bakhtiar Saab is my guru, so whatever he says, I'm not even going to think twice about it. Thank you, Bakhtiar Saab.
Yeah,
And Umar, if you're ready to go into the mindfulness session, then I'd be more than happy to assist in that because it's one of my favorite topics also to develop that calm and that serenity.
great. So once you said that you should only do what you love doing, and I not only love doing my work, but I profess that also. So since you like doing mindfulness, so I think you should be doing the session because we would love to have a presenter who loves doing whatever she he.
Okay.
So I think yes,
I'd be happy.
we would
Yeah.
be
Okay.
with
I will build
we have
this.
our next
Okay.
session, in fact, next Friday. And on those who are new here today, they should know that every last Friday we have our monthly session. So next month also we will be having our session, but next month it will be not the same time. It will be, in fact, 11 a.m. Pakistan time, because next month our presenter is from New Zealand, and our date would be I think 24th or 31st of October. And that will be Friday, and 11 at 11 a.m. Those who are asking about the slides, I have also mentioned in our chat box that this recording will be available on our YouTube channel, and you can share your number with us. And if you are not already available with any of the links we have, we have a LinkedIn page with the name of ICF coaches in Pakistan. This recording will be available. The link will be available there. So you can go there and see the recording. So if there isn't any other comment or question or anything, I think we should say goodbye to everyone with smiles and cheers. And thank you very much again, Romana, for your wonderful session. And it was lovely to have you here.
Forward to seeing all of you again soon, inshallah.
Thank you very much, and have a good weekend, everyone.
Thank you. Yeah.